Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will supersizing and growing your business be. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and our idiom today is Rome wasn't built in a day. I suspect we've talked about this one before because when I re-looked up the origin of it, since we've done, I think, 1,500 or so idioms, I think well over 1,500, I find myself repeating the ones, especially those that are appropriate to business. And to me, this one's particularly appropriate because it reminds us that anything great, any great project, any really impactful, I say positive thing we want to create is going to take time. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take energy. It's going to take resources. It's going to take more people than just us. And we need to remind ourselves of that sometimes and cut ourselves some slack when we think things aren't happening immediately. It seems like the world moves faster and faster, and that the expectations of people, especially, I guess, people of all ages, but especially the younger people and the younger generations, is that, and I saw it happening in my generation, where we grew up expecting that we would go to college, start our lives, and we would start off where we left off with our parents, forgetting that they had worked probably 30 to 50 years to get where they were. And then all of a sudden we expected that we were going to have the same lifestyle without having put in any work and effort. Kind of mind-boggling when I look back on it now. It's actually humorous. Look, I'm laughing. I'm laughing about it when I look back on it now. How do we get those unrealistic expectations and beliefs? Where do those come from? And so I'm asking myself, because I see people now with strange and bizarre expectations and beliefs about how the world should support them and they're entitled to this or that. And it blows my mind. We get out of everything what we put into it. You don't get something for nothing. You don't get something for things that other people have created just because you exist. It's pretty scary and crazy, but thankfully there are entrepreneurs and people starting their own businesses, growing and supersizing their own businesses that bring some sanity and set the example for how to grow and build and create something in the world that makes the world a better place. So anything worth doing is going to take time. It's going to take effort. There's no shortcuts, and there are some shortcuts, but not to the overall process and the journey, right? So this idiom has been around since the 12th century French, when Clive Alain de Lilly, or however you pronounce it, used the expression, but it didn't show up in English until the 16th century when John Haywood put together his thing of proverbs and wise sayings. I can't remember what it's called, but we've talked about that before. It's a pretty famous collection of proverbs in that time frame. And so those that can be found, and that, again, not where it originated 4 centuries earlier, but that's where the credit comes into switching it to the English language. And I don't think there's any shortage of any of us who are listening to me right now understanding this. First, this year's Get Up and Go Challenge, day 100 already of the Get Up and Go Challenge. We're doing one thing every day to get what we want. It's our it's not the Get Up and Go Challenge, it's the Get Your Goals Annual Challenge. And we're working on goals all this year. We're talking about a different topic every day, and I've structured it to go along with a life framework that I've used, a 7-part one since the 80s, but I added a couple in 2021 following the pandemic. I added 2 more categories, and so we're going to add those and go through those. Each month is, not each month, but 9 months of the year are dedicated to one of those areas. This month is spiritual, and so today I was thinking yesterday after eating Easter dinner about the difference in my perspective with respect to anything, but with respect to specifically my spiritual goals. What's the difference between when I come at a goal wanting to do it, feeling like I have to do it, I need to do it, or I ought to do it? And so I sat down with a piece of paper, because I like to sit down with pieces of paper and write things out. It was like, okay, well, what does this mean to me? What spiritual goals, if I'm categorizing my list of spiritual goals, what category do they fall into? And then what do I want to do about that? Because I know that the perspective that I bring to the project will determine the results of that project. If I think I have to do something or it's going to be hard, guess what? It's going to be hard. If I think I'm going to struggle with something, if I actually believe that, it's going to be a struggle for me. But if I'm choosing to do it, if I want to do it, if I've got a bunch of whys lined up for the reasons I want to do it, that project becomes easy, fun, enjoyable, an adventure instead of a struggle. So I'm curious today. I think of my whys as fuel to keep me motivated and going. I think of my intent and my perspective of things as also fuel and motivation and commitment to the project or the thing that I'm doing. And supersizing my business is, of course, one of the things that I am excited about. And if I can get excited about it, if I look at it as an adventure, I'm gonna have a lot more fun with the project and with the journey than if I'm feeling like I have to sacrifice things, if I have to struggle, if I have to give up things in order to do other things. It's one of the reasons I was pushed against opportunity cost when I was in corporate. We'd always do these opportunity cost and what if projects, and it's interesting. I had a job once in corporate America. I worked for a great company, but one of my direct boss would always call all the department heads together and say, okay, we're gonna do a what if thing. And we'd have to crunch all the numbers, do it as if we were implementing the project. We'd have to create budgets and everything. And it was like a freaking ton of work. And he was doing it because he wanted to present ideas to his boss, our vice president at the time. And not a single one of those projects ever came to fruition. Now, when you're department heads and you're trying to run busy departments and you have to stop what you're doing to, within 24 hours, have this what if scenario worked out in massive detail for your boss, it starts to get really, really frustrating. So that, I don't know why I was even thinking about that today, because that was a had to do, need to do, but definitely didn't want to do type of a project. And sometimes it was a struggle because we still had to get all of our other work done and still get those projects done for my boss. So how does this work in your business? Are there things in your business, and this is kind of a fun exercise I challenge you to do today. Make a list of your main projects and goals, and then what does it currently in your mind and in your feelings and in your spirit feel like to you? Does it feel like a want to, a have to, a need to, or an ought to? And if it does, what are some things that you can do to turn that into something that you really want to do and are motivated and driven to do? Share that in the comments below, and I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.